Hello again to the webinar series Beyond Ship Design, MicroStation's Power in Marine Industry. Today we are discussing the structural design process and solutions. We'll also see some good, let's say, implementation examples. Meet our today's guests, Daniele Poda, Bentley qualified trainer, modeling expert, cooperating with CAD Connect since 2017. Hello, Daniele.
Hi, nice to meet you and nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you accepted our invitation. And our Bentley expert, Kasia Wosewicz, since few years working directly for Bentley Systems as an application engineer. Kasia now is a application engineer manager. She's leading the team. Hello, Kasia.
Hello, everyone.
And myself, my name is Bartłomiej Zimmerman. I am a product consultant for MicroStation and building products in EMEA region. So let's take a look at the agenda for today's meeting. We'll start with an interview with Patrizio Bonifacio, who is the CEO at Tecnav. Patrizio will describe processes and workflows in his design teams. The next point will be the presentation by Daniele Poda, the overview of modeling functionalities in MicroStation. And Kasia Wosewicz will provide us with a summary of most important features of MicroStation in yacht and ship design. So let's move to the interview with Patrizio Bonifacio. The interview is divided into 4 sections. We'll discuss them briefly. The most important part will be about the initial phase of working with the client. Then I will ask about the deliverables and project documentation once the project is underway. And then we'll move on to the collaboration with external companies, if any. I will also ask a few questions about communication within your team and finally the main challenges you face in modeling. So let's get started. Patrizio, we'd like to know what is your role at Tecnav?
From a managerial point of view, we are 2 partners in Tecnav, both directors. Personally, I deal with the technical part exclusively, both from the point of view of the software implementation, as far as I can, of course. And in the specific modeling work in close relation to the needs of the construction site and the execution of the order according to the request.
Is the software part the one that concerns you very closely?
Yes, actually both the parts. I would say 50%. It would be nice to have more time to devote to the software implementation.
And who are your clients? Can you name a few? Do you also work with foreign companies?
Okay, essentially we work with national shipyards. The request came mainly from the companies around here. So Benetton, San Lorenzo yachts, that absorbs us completely.
And why do they actually come to you?
They come to us because we have been operating the sector for many years. We are the second generation of studios that deal with this type of processing. Not much remains of the first generation. The company was founded in the mid-90s, immediately starting to design with MicroStation platform. Initially, this was a requirement of financially also for the other shipyards that have in the meantime changed the names or been absorbed by other companies. They essentially use MicroStation in addition to other software. Then we developed ourselves and started to collaborate with different shipyards in the yacht industry.
What kind of boats do you work with?
Essentially more than 90% of our boats, at least now, in fact, I would say almost 100% are large motor yachts, than boats from 35 meters upwards over to 100 meters in length.
the so-called super yachts. Also because the sector is experiencing an annual increase that shows no sign of slowing down.
Yeah, actually, right now the demand is strong.
What specific aspect of production do you deal with? The structural hull, the exterior finishes, the interiors, the systems, the propulsion?
We do the modeling of the structural part, so everything that is the structure of both the hull, therefore the submerged part, and the overstructure.
What material is the structure of a yacht made of?
Structure of a yacht is essentially made of two materials. High strength steel for the hull, sometimes also common steels and light alloy for the overstructures. Then there can also be hulls completely made of light alloy. We have done a lot of them.
Let's talk about the experience you have with MicroStation on a daily basis, with whom you have been working for many years, as you mentioned, since the early 90s. So you saw version 4, version 5, for us who are old enough to remember them, and we go to the 64-bit Connect edition. You have still done a significant amount of work on the 32-bit V8i in the model you are showing us, which we know is a 75-meter part of the model that you have the exact copyright on. So you have only been able to show the part of what you do.
Yeah, that's a 75-meter motorcycle yacht.
What you propose now, I share in another screen, and I start to show MicroStation opened the model you provided us, and on which I made some small implementations, but no upheaval. Here I am sharing.
I see it.
So I'm sharing what you proposed to us as a model. Please name these parts.
Simply put, it's a second order superstructure. It would be in simple terms a second floor.
There are actually 4 parts of this model that you gave us, so you use the technique of references quite frequently. It's also a question I'd like to ask you. How much do you use MicroStation's referencing technique in your daily practice?
It's critical. It was one of the reasons for the adoption of MicroStation. Then it's true that the other software has also grown, but at that time there was nothing. So performing at that time, and in any case till now, in the latest version, the MicroStation reference always makes the difference in my opinion.
It's a useful tool, especially with projects of this size. The modeling you do is very refined, as we have seen. If you go into detail any part, I make a visualization set to see only this. We are down to the millimeter.
Yes.
So very single element we see in this template becomes a drawing.
It does not become a drawing. It becomes an element that will then be processed by CNC machines. The artboard is another approach that is about whole section, not the individual piece. Complete cross section, complete longitudinal section, complete plane views will be made, in which the individual component will then be indicated with its own identifier, which can be a numerical mark and other things of this kind.
Well, then there is also a preview of another question that I would have asked you, which is about interoperability. How do you exchange information as far as the numerical control machine is concerned?
Okay, so starting from these referred objects, we only provide the file library or a large file in which all the pieces are being placed on a top view. This is generally what we deliver.
Ok.
Questa è la nostra,
Chiaro.
generalmente la nostra fornitura. Questo è.
So, okay, so let's get to the little change I mentioned at the beginning. Analyzing your model, we mentioned that you make use of stylization by groups. Among other things, you use many groups of elements, giving names that I will ask you to account for. So you also explain well the reason for these nomenclatures. Now I have made a variant of the groups that are a 33-bit technology of the previous generation. I have converted them to the element types. I will show you how they work now. I convert the model to wireframe and apply a visual style rule that I called Tecnav.
Perfect.
And I apply it to the model, which totally changes color in an instant. Okay. Then give another example to better structure the question. I apply the SPEC style that will stand for mirror, I guess. I apply the SIM for symmetric. And then we have the ID. I have only given these three examples from your impressive work on groups. The question is, what is the reason for separating these thousands of components in this graphical way?
They are a simplification for modeling. It starts to separate what is specular with respect to a plane that in naval is called diametral plane. In practice, the line is a plane that is central to the whole boat. Symmetrical pieces are pieces that look at each other in the mirroring. So the pieces on the opposite side does not have to be generated autonomously. It is simply the mirroring projection of a piece. Then once you define all the symmetrical elements, the mirror pieces are already described. They certainly don't need anything else. They have their importance logically because it is true that they are only a reflected copy, but they make up the complete structure. So once we have given the mirroring attribute, you can forget about the pieces.
Perché è vero che sono esclusivamente un'immagine riflessa, ma compongono la struttura completa.
And it remains important that they identify themselves as mirroring. You must continually separate between what is symmetrical and what is mirrored. And what about the ID?
Okay, ID, identical. It means that there is only one, it has no reflected image. That is, the piece does not have its counterpart on the other side of the boat. We generally and conventionally start from the right side, and then you make the whole right side as a symmetrical pieces and as a snapper pieces. Then the complete block is generated. Creating the mirror with macros, we create the complete block right away. We do not model the mirror elements, only those which are in the center of gravity, but for others, the elements and their attributes are transferred. So we define the whole modeling by this path, which is, however, operationally very important.
As you can see, I am using MicroStation 2023 with element types, rules, and visual styles with a decent performance. You have seen that in 2023 version, since that first chat we had on this subject, there's been a decent improvement in update speed. Well, all this was very interesting, especially for me, because I learned a little more about how to approach a bot. Do you use macros for reporting?
We make use of macros. Not only for macros, but also MDL applications. I mentioned to you, we had an MDL program that saves all the elements within the block, creates the list of parts, and creates the list of material.
Okay, so let's speak about cooperation with external parties. I have a few questions. You take care of an extremely executive aspect of the bot, so you always have a client who in turn has an internal structure dedicated to design. Which professionals do you usually interact with in order to exchange information relating to execution?
Essentially, we deal with what is the technical office of the construction site. So the executive part of the site, and we refer exclusively to these people. We exchange information, inputs which are given to us, and then we submit our work.
And there are other intermediaries, in example, as designers or other technical experts that are present throughout the process, such as architects, specialist engineers.
Yes, there are. I can tell you that few years ago, and I'm talking about our relationship was direct with the design team because of the form. The modeling of the forms was done by us internally. So all the surface shell was modeled directly by us. Everything and our model went to the owner for approval. So we had the designer, but also famous Spadolini came to us, and they came maybe with a handcrafted design.
With a pencil sketch.
Exactly. And then we did the modeling. I remember a lot of modeling with MicroStation as well.
In fact, this argues in favor of MicroStation as a modeler.
Look, it's all about the ability and above all knowledge. In my opinion, the knowledge of the software is essential to achieve certain goals and certain results.
Exactly. I will mention some file extensions that MicroStation is able to process. These are DWG, DXF, 3DS, 3DM Rhino, SKP, JT, STL, STEP, OBJ, Parasolid, IGS, and FBX. Which of these do you usually get for? Which of these do you usually get for your part of the work?
Actually, almost all of them. Almost all of them come from STEP to Parasolid to Rhino format.
So we can say that MicroStation's interoperability is a lifesaver in this regard.
Yes, it has always been one of the strengths that we look out for.
So reference, interoperability, modeling capabilities, okay. Let's talk about teamwork now. How you describe your internal cooperation inside your team? How many people are there?
We have 12 people all in house who take care of the modeling.
Okay,
And
are you
remaining, I take care of it myself.
okay? So you never stop modeling. It's the most fun part, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the most fun software to use, actually.
Look, are there any revisions in the project?
Yeah, sometimes there are.
Okay, I can imagine the salesman who arrives to you. You begin to execute the order, then you get a revision, maybe forcing you to redo half of what you did.
It can happen.
Okay, and how are you handling this?
You freeze the position at the current time. Then you create a new revision starting from the existing one, so the position remains the same.
Also the file archive then.
Yes, the file archive. I mean, you freeze everything at the initial stages and it give it a revision index of 0, 1, etc. And the next stage will have a later revision index or a later date. We also use this for our internal reviews for myself or for the team.
Okay, that was the question I wanted to get to.
Yeah, in fact, it could be interesting. Now, continuing with the implementation of parametric features could be very important. But the part,
Yeah. My next part where I will show the competition we made compared to the two models you provided, which taught two distinct pieces of the act. We then completed with a design as close as possible to the work already done by you, and we will describe the parametric part.
but the problem with the problem with us with other software is that parametric is very difficult to handle. So it becomes with rather rigid tree structures. You don't get the flexibility.
Okay, thank you. So let's conclude. Each project has its own degree of difficulty. Some might be simpler, other more complicated. What are the main requirements to be competitive in your sector?
Okay, so now it becomes difficult precisely because there is no time and we are eternally late. You could say, unfortunately, the shipyard always estimates a start of work that it cannot respect, but it never changes the delivery time. So we always start late, we improvise. So what MicroStation does very well is it's one of the best features that is the ability to work without a predefined script, but in successive steps and completing the work as you go. Many 3D CAD software does not allow this.
Yeah, they can't do this. They are designed for a stable project. All right, Bonifacio, we have came to an end. Thank you for a nice chat that allow us to understand the workflow with Tecnav, with which Tecnav operates. A long-standing experience with MicroStation, invaluable, full of useful information for all of the users. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, so we had the opportunity to listen to the example of implementation from the market. Now, Daniele Poda will deliver the presentation of other features of MicroStation that were not mentioned in this interview.
A small feature of the text tools that I personally have always found useful is the incremental test copy. In this case, applied to the axis of the ship, since it has a development of 75 meters, it was necessary to mark each meter with the corresponding total length. In the video, you can see how, with a simple copy-paste, the numbering increases the desired interval. The design of a boat, such as a luxury yacht, requires soft and sleek lines that denote style and uniqueness. Therefore, the starting point of the modeling is mainly composed by curved guidelines that will then result either as loops through the surfaces or as a simple hidden rule for the overall design. MicroStation has a very complete set of tools for tracking and controlling curves. In the video, these are first traced adjacent to a plane and then adapted to a third axis to correspond to the aesthetic design needs. This is done through the control points, going to grasp the nodal points in the space through which all the related surfaces will then have to pass. The process is very similar to the automotive design, and MicroStation's 3D management with the AccuDraw tool makes it extremely easy to move and orient yourself with precision, even in a scenario with a few visual references. The rotations of the view, the clamping, the creation of custom and punctual ACS systems are all tools and activities of vital importance in order not to have limitations in the design. This model has been conceived with some guidelines and sections that have always been a reference for the predetermined final goal. Curves can also be extracted from existing surfaces. This is particularly useful when you need to complete starting from a certain surface because the extracted curves can develop on three axes, becoming difficult to manipulate. But in MicroStation, there is a very practical tool to flatten a curve on a desired plane, and this allows to proceed in the design with greater ease and precision. Once the design of the yacht has been completed, many of these curves are the surface's edges, so you can move on to a really modeling with them only using the construction and curvature tools. They include everything needed to properly close the contours of a surface. The curvatures also allow the control of the normals to correct the direction of construction, avoiding limits and inconsistencies immediately. In the video, you can see the surface creation by margins after drafting all the necessary perimeter curves, including the intermediate ones, or the curvatures that generate interpolation surfaces between one or two order of curves, therefore a development in one or two axes, U and V. Once surfaces have been created, they can be further adapted, either by modifying their generating curves or by performing Boolean operations, for example, by using one surface to delimit another. Most of the elements that make up a boat are mirrored to each other. In fact, symmetry is a requirement to be respected as much as possible, both for aesthetic and dynamic reasons. We have seen the Tecnav's approach use a lot of types of elements to maintain symmetry throughout the executive phase of the various parts of the ship. Once an object has been modeled, it is possible to mirror it in the other side by pivoting in various ways, by access points, always thanks to the flexibility of the actuator. We have seen until now how to keep a total control of the modeling of curves and surfaces is fundamental in a complex design as a yacht. Even the specific solid as the propulsion helix must be conceived as surfaces and then be solidified with the MicroStation's parametric 3D tools. In the video, you can see how to multiply the components with the rotated copies, applying Boolean modifications, all while preserving the hierarchies of the features, always with the permanent access to the parameters and the possibility of revising them.
Thank you, Daniele, for preparing this interview and the presentation. With these two videos, we have covered lots of functions of MicroStation and the example of implementation. Now it's time for presentation by our colleague Kasia Wosewicz. She will sum up what we have heard so far and bring together all of the most important functions of MicroStation in the regard of ship and yacht design. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bartek. Can you confirm you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
So the title slide, right?
Yes, the title slide, of course.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's move to the summary of what we seen today. After all that was said by Daniele and Patrizio Bonifazio in the interview about Tecnav's workflow, and after the details and examples of the 3D modeling performed in MicroStation by Daniele, I would like to focus on why. That means what advantages MicroStation actually gives us. What are the business benefits that come out of it, and why are we actually using it and not other software? So following the Tecnav workflow aspects, the topics that they followed during the interview with Daniele, we can now think about benefits that come with each of them, with each of the aspects, the topic. So during all the design process until the implementation, we can notice that all available tools give us a lot of flexibility in modeling. MicroStation is actually very known for its modeling capabilities. All modeling process becomes easy, intuitive, and productivity raises significantly. And together with the fact that MicroStation supports really huge data sets and great complexity, that's another thing we've heard of, that some companies use MicroStation especially because it supports huge data sets. It doesn't get really slow with really big amount of data. Together with all that, it is easy for us to achieve the design excellence and exactly the outcomes that we and our clients expect. And coming to creation of documentation, also here we meet productivity. It rises significantly with the tools we have. It allows us for using the model synchronized with the drawings. So all the changes can be applied there automatically. And therefore, we still get the high fidelity of output deliverables as they are always connected with the model. Anything we work on in the model, we can be sure that it will be represented in the drawings. And because of the configurability of MicroStation, we can always adjust the drawings and decide on how we want them to be shown. And also intuitive annotations. That's what helps us achieve that customization as well. Then in collaboration topic, so all the interoperability and also collaboration with external architects and other designers, we can talk about our easy data exchange. It's really easy also because we have support for various formats, and also because of federated approach. Federated approach, these are the references that Daniele and Patrizio Bonifazio mentioned. We can always divide the work between references, and that's also what helps us manage the huge amount of data that we have in our project. And another thing that they mentioned, so working in different versions of the program, even if it is a file created a long time ago in a even very old version of MicroStation, we can still be able to open it in the newer version, and in the newer version we can create a file that can be then open in the older version, and it always works. So the collaboration is much easier thanks to that. That's the project data shelf life of MicroStation that we are also known for, and also the fact that we have this one DGN format that works in different applications of Bentley. So if you want to use some more applications and focus on other parts of other aspects of your project, depending on what what kind of projects you're creating, then it is also something very useful to have this one format and supporting the same kind of data and being able to open it in each of the applications. And then team communication, it is also a bit about collaboration, of course, but thanks to the federated approach and references, it is also easy within one team, within one company, to divide the work between designers, as well again as if the designers work in different formats, they can still exchange the data and all the information very easily, and again customize what they see thanks to the visual reports. Again, something that Daniele showed on in the interview, by applying the rules of visualization or some display styles for the model. It all lets us navigate in the model, especially with models like structural models of the ships, like this one, where we have many elements. We can then visually divide and show and focus well on the parts that we want to focus on. And finally, modeling workflow, something that Daniel showed and something I already mentioned. So flexibility of all the tools available, and precision, something that we can do because of our precision 8 tools like AccuSnap and AccuDraw that Daniela mentioned, and also because of parametric modeling support. That means being able to control easily graphics and parameters of the models, elements of the model, easily just changing the parameters. It is something that makes all the modeling workflow really easily and intuitive, and simply it makes our work much more pleasant. And all this, these were our design and collaboration benefits, but coming from this, these two business benefits, that's actually the most important if we have in a company that we lead, we can say that MicroStation revolutionizes our ability to work in naval industry, and not only, so on different kind of projects. And this all those advantages that we mentioned, it all leads to flexibility and efficiency, and that means faster production time, and faster production time often means cost savings. And also other aspects are smooth collaboration and communication, both externally and internally within one or more teams in a company, and optimized project management because of being able to divide the work, and because of the federated approach, because of the easy exchange of data. All this works to optimized project management. So together with this benefits, the business advantages of MicroStation, and this, the knowledge of the program, of the application, and the trust of Tecnav and other companies in that, plus of course their huge experience and expertise, this allows them to create really great projects like Tecnav's. That means over 300 projects, if I remember well. And as they mentioned, they're still happy to use the software. So just summing up the business benefits and all that we've seen that Daniele and Patrizio Bonifacio showed us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kasia, for this summary. I think it is very important what you mentioned in the end, that it is proven by example that MicroStation is a good solution for shipbuilding industry. Especially during this session, we have had few guests who described their how they implement their MicroStation in their workflows, that they rely on it. And we also had channel partners who also provided us with further examples of implementation and also the applications that can be built on top of MicroStation. Now we are in the Q&A part of the webinar. As mentioned in the beginning, feel free to ask your questions. In GoToWebinar application, there is a special chat box, I would say, in which you can send your questions. So do not hesitate and do so. Let me start with a question addressed to Daniele about the import. I mean, files that can be imported into MicroStation. So Daniele, can you design the structure and in general work in MicroStation on the Huel geometry received from other software, like for example Rhinoceros or other ones, of course?
Yes, MicroStation has a great interoperability in import. This consent to read many of the standard files formats. This interoperability is equally valid for the output, of course. STEP, OBJ, STL, Parasolid, JT, IGS. These are extensions frequently used in the manufacturing sector. And all of them are supported in MicroStation, of course. But MicroStation, it also has an open door for some specific proprietary format. For example, Rhino 3DM files which are used for the NURBS conversion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Daniela, another question about the workshop documentation, because mentioning the manufacturing, the connection between design studio and manufacturing industry, the companies that needs to receive some data, detailed data, detailed information, what is expected from them to deliver. The model presented during the interview with Tecnav consists of a large number of steel components. How is the workshop documentation prepared in the end?
MicroStation includes many features to manage documentation. In my opinion, one of the most important is the sheet index that allows to print multi-page PDF files from many drawings by one click using the printer organizer. And the sheet index is a consequence of the drawing composition features in MicroStation. So you need to know how to match tools in MicroStation. Tools are always related each other. And when and how, you have to decide when and how to apply them to maintain performance in a complex project such as the structural super yacht project. Tecnav could be considered an expert user, really expert user of MicroStation, and is able to make the best choice in terms of feature to use. For example, by preferring MicroStation's large file management, putting all the production pieces into a single file with numbers, identification codes, and specifications. This may seem a few strange approach, but allows them to control overall links and cross-reference details regarding the production workflow. And in all other cases, for example, building or mechanical disciplines, we always recommend to use the powerful drawing composition of MicroStation.
Mm-hmm. Good, thank you, Daniela. Last question about referencing capabilities. How can you benefit from this if you don't have a specific software like ProjectWise? Because I can imagine that all of these files must be stored somewhere in the place that everybody has access, because there is lots of files are referenced, are attached to the one master model. Does it make sense to reference files in small teams where you don't have ProjectWise? How can this be solved? How to take advantage of this, of referencing capabilities of MicroStation?
A small team is a large team in a reduced scale. The problems to solve are the same. For example, to coordinate the technicians to not have duplicated the informations or losses of information. More bad, make big errors for this reason. Furthermore, if you are working on a reference file, your project manager can still check your job in the master file without stopping your activity. He can see the latest update of the project only by refreshing the master file. And this is true for one or more referenced files from many collaborators also. There is another thing to discuss, data loss, a very rare event for MicroStation. To be honest, is a factor to keep in mind when you are working without CDE tools like Bentley ProjectWise. So in a network with a limited bandwidth, and for this potentially unstable, the reference MicroStation technology avoid the main part of the risks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Daniela. Okay, so we can move forward. Let me quickly check if there are any other questions. Okay, we can move forward. Thank you for this. For technical presentations and for answering my questions. Now I would like to announce a few important things. This is the last webinar of this series. However, we have plans for upcoming events. What you can expect in December is the series of 3 LinkedIn live sessions in which we'll cover most important features of MicroStation in the, I would say, other contexts. We will have, of course, some examples from the market. So the first session, December 6th, how to access it. You should simply track our LinkedIn accounts. You should follow us, and you'll be able to, and you will know everything that is happening. This will be LinkedIn sessions, so you can find it on LinkedIn. The next ones, December 13th and 20th, will be exactly the same, so no registration required. The information about our offering, because we're speaking about MicroStation, and you might be wondering how to get MicroStation. So we are offering the multiple licensing models. The most popular currently is annual licenses. We call it Virtuosity license. Virtuosity license has a good pricing, especially now when we have a Cyber Week, and it comes in a bundle with Virtuoso keys, which are the training keys. So buying an annual Virtuosity license of MicroStation, you also receive 3 Virtuosity keys, which you can exchange with 2 hours of individual training each. So with one annual license, you can have 6 hours of individual training with our user success managers. And scanning this QR code, you can get access. You access the 14 days free trial version of MicroStation. And yeah, I have already mentioned this. The Cyber Week, until Friday, you can buy all Bentley software at Virtuosity platform with 20% discount. So do not waste your time. This promo ends on Friday afternoon. So thank you for joining to this session. Big thank you to our guests, Daniele Poda, Kasia Wosewicz, our experts today. Thank you very much.
Thanks to all.
Thank you.
Here are our email addresses. So if there are any questions, feel free to reach out directly to us. And yeah, thank you for joining.